Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC, and we're going to continue on our little bit of a mini series. We've been talking about some of the things that's been going on, and some of the things that everybody's been kind of speculating, and those little kind of feelings that we get or whatnot. And we did a video not too long ago where we kicked this thing off about the four, and I'm going to throw in a fifth one of the most common things that's probably going to take most people out if there was a actual long-term SHTF situation. Now, the last video, which was the first one in this, we talked about food and water. That's just a given. Most people don't have enough food and water for a long-term situation. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you, go check it out. But this one, we're going to talk about medical. And as soon as I said medical, there's probably a few of you that, boom, right in your head, you've already listed off one, maybe a couple of different things. And I'm going to guess, if you're watching this, that I would say on your top, on the very, very kind of top end of the things that you listed out when I talked about medical, is a bullet hole. And you're not wrong, okay? It's very, very serious to get a bullet wound. And I'm going to go ahead and say that probably most of you are not ready for something like that to that extent. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you are the person that in an SHTF situation, if you have the supplies and the tooling and the knowledge to go in and 100% with confidence, patch somebody up to where they will continue to survive with a bullet injury, hats off. That's fantastic. Okay. For the rest of us, because I don't. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. I don't. Um, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think. Okay, for a lot of people that in a very wide, long-term SHTF situation, that a lot of people is going to have to worry about a bullet wound sort of thing. Now, again, it's going to be very situational. It's going to be where you are and things like that. Some people are going to be in a very bad situation. You are geolocated where the problem is going to be, where another video of people behaving badly. And so this having a bullet, situation might be a higher thing for me. There's a good chance that I'll never experience that, even in an SHTF situation. So one thing before I move on from this one is, for the most part, in my opinion, the level that you should aspire to be at is a triage sort of emergency response level. You want to be able to locate and identify the wound and be able to stabilize in order to get them to that person that has that higher level of care. We're all not going to be surgeons, okay? It's probably one of those things that your group, your family, your mag, whatever you're calling yourselves, you're all not surgeons, okay? And I get it. It's not feasible to do that. But to be able to locate and identify, and before a bunch of people are like, it's a bullet hole, dummy, okay? I get it. But to have a person A get a round center mast, point blank from a pretty large caliber, and then you have person B, which is they took a round in the leg from a 22 shot from a distance that was a ricochet. Okay, now way up here, the 20,000-foot view, when you go, what's wrong with patient A and patient B, and somebody says it's a bullet wound, they're correct. But if you go, okay, what's the details? And you say high caliber center mass versus ricochet from a 22 in the leg, it's vastly different, right? Okay, so that is locate and identify. And then do you have the ability and the tooling and the supplies and things like that, the skills, the knowledge to be able to stabilize that person? Can you pack the wound? Can you do various things so that way you can get that person to another level of care, or stabilize them enough to where you can get help out to you? So, but we're going to leave it there because I've already danced enough around the fringes of probably YouTube policy on that. So, what is the second thing? And we'll go with, if you are a person that takes a medication that probably popped up, maybe number one, number two. And so there's a lot of people that take a prescribed medication, a pharmaceutical, and depending on what it is, there's people that rely on that. That is your survival, is to have that medication and to be able to take it. And there's all sorts of different medications, and I know for whatever reason, this stuff's controversial. I don't know why. Yes, if you take things like insulin, they're going to tell you, well, if you diet and exercise, and okay, that's great, but it doesn't solve the problem now. Okay, you don't diet and exercise over the weekend and suddenly you're off insulin. It takes time to be able to do activities, change your lifestyle for your body to take hold and do the different things that it needs to do in order to lower that dependency. But there's all sorts of other medications that, it's the roll of the dice or whatever it is, genetics or different things, that it is, you have to have it. Okay. I don't know any other way to put it. And there's no nice way to do it. Okay. You can't sugarcoat it. If you need medication A, B, whatever, and without it, it's bad news. I'm sorry, it's bad news. And I know that there's different people that's kind of, you can go out and do an herbal or a more natural version of it and different things. And maybe you can, okay? And if that's something that involves you, if you have to have a certain medication to survive, maybe go down and try and look at those. Start studying up on that now. It's one of those that you don't have to accept, that kind of grim fate. Maybe there is an alternative. I don't know. It's nothing of mine to where, I'm not on prescriptions. So for me, it's not a big thing for me to put my time and invest in. So, but we'll leave that out of there. So if we go down through those right there, what is some of the other things on the list? Well, the next one for me is going to be disease. And again, this kind of goes with the bullet hole thing, is what do you have? Well, I'm sick. Okay, well, what is it? Is it a low grade fever with you got the chills, you're a little cold, and you got a slight cough? Okay, well, that is your body showing symptoms of you being ill. I get it. You are sick. What's person B have? Well, they have really horrible diarrhea. They are vomiting nonstop. They have a really high temperature and they're coughing up blood. Okay, that's two completely opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to sick, right? Um, and that goes into the thing of, can you identify symptoms and know the supplies you have, whether it is store-bought pharmaceutical stuff over the counter or more of a natural herbal method? What do you have that will help alleviate those symptoms, maybe help somebody get back on track a little bit better? Different things like that. Do you have that ability to identify and the knowledge to know what to do with what you have on hand? What is it that you can go, okay, that just needs to run its course. There's really nothing we can do. Uh, Something that we just need to keep an eye on, or we need to, kind of all hands on deck. This thing might get out of control. Do you know the symptoms for something that might be contagious, something that's spreadable, something to where when somebody gets ill, do you need to quarantine them, section them off so not every single person? If you have a bunch of kids and different things, kids love to pass disease around. But then again, in an SHTF situation, it's going to be a much more intimate moment with a lot of people. You're going to have a lot of different families that lived, worked in different things in different parts. And the SHTF event happened, and now you guys all bugged out to your location. Now you're forcing everybody to be in very close contact 24 hours a day. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. So moving on from that, then it's going to be things of the minor that turn major. Okay. And a lot of the things on this is going to be things where you nick yourself, just that, oop, got a little paper cut or something like that. The splinters, things along those lines. You didn't have the PPE or proper PPE or something along those lines. Um, then you get the ones to where maybe like a blister or something along those lines, and it rips open or whatnot. And guess what happens if you don't do proper care? You get an infection. And I will tell you, probably over top of just about anything, infection will be the thing that takes a lot of people out. We are so used to having modern medication, modern physicians, all the different things like that. That when we nick ourselves, we get that little cut or whatever. When we maybe have that little bit of an accident and we fall down and skin our knee, just enough that you take a little bit of the skin off, and no big deal, right? Well, in an SHTF situation, it could become a very big deal, to be able to keep the wound clean and keep bandages changed and different things like that. In order for it not to become infected, and then the situation becomes vastly different and extremely worse. uh, when you're in an SHTF situation, you don't get to just run down to the local drugstore and grab another box of Band-Aids, right? You only have a certain number, a finite number of supplies. And so to keep changing bandages out, your supplies is dwindling. How many people of us have the ability to make some sort of bandage, and then on top of that to be able to clean it? Water, we just talked about that in the last video. Water is going to become very, very valuable. You need it to survive, to drink water. You have to have water as an intake in order to keep functioning and keep going. Well, if you only have a certain small amount of water, are you going to be able to take part of that to keep a wound clean, so you don't get that infection? When we talk about that, one of the big things, especially if you're new, the big thing is always 1 gallon of water per person per day. And yes, at an absolute bare minimum, let's say that the SHTF situation lasted a week. 1 gallon will get you by. Okay. 1 gallon a day per person will definitely get you by. Guess what happens if you had 2 gallons? It would be easier. You would be able to do more. Remember, the more that you are doing, the more movement and the more strenuous activity, the more water your body is going to want. And so the person that was only given the gallon versus the person with 2 gallons, it's going to be one of those things to where the person with 2 gallons, they're going to be more refreshed. They're going to be able to use the excess for cooking. They're going to be able to use the excess for cleaning. And guess what? Let's throw person C in there, and they had 3 gallons of water per person per day. They're in a better area. So water is one of those, you probably can't have too much water. And then so we'll dive back into medical here. Um, there's all sorts of different things, and then we're going to go into another one, the one that if you're in any sort of uh, pretty much anywhere in the workforce, I'm sure one of your safety meetings has been about slips, trips, and falls. We're human. We do human things. And, you could be like me. I'm 40 years old, and guess what? You still have it to where I've been walking every day of my life since I could walk, and I will still miss a stair, every once in a while, or I will still step on something I didn't see, and it puts me off balance, or accidentally stepped on a shoelace or something like that. Slips, trips, falls. Guess what? That is a injury that you could sustain. That is unsuspecting. You did everything correctly, but just something happened, and guess what? Down you go. And depending on your level of physique and different things like that, guess what? It could be one of the things that might take you out for a day or two. You've got an injury and you need to get off your ankle, or you need to go over here and get kind of patched up and looked over and see how bad things are and all that. So uh, it's one of those things that you can do your best to prepare for as much as you possibly can. And again, to have the kind of basics, the ability, and I don't know what they call it now, but the old Heimlich maneuver, the ability to get somebody that is choking to clear their airways so they can breathe, to be able to do basic CPR. Somebody does something and there is no breath. Can you help them? To be able to check a pulse, blood needs to go round and round. And how do we know it's doing that? Well, we check for a heartbeat. Uh, and then the ability to see an injury, locate the injury, kind of diagnose what it is and how bad and what do we need to do about it, and then the ability to kind of go through and take inventory of what you have and what it is that you need for the most probable things. Does the average person need sutures? Okay, it wouldn't hurt to have, but that money would probably be better spent on gauze or something along those lines, because the tools and material that you have needs to match your skill. To have something that you have no idea what it does or what to do with it properly, it's basically useless. The only hope that you might have is that you have the tool that is needed for the situation, and somebody around you just happens to have the knowledge to be able to use them, and they could use it. But my guess, as we just previously stated, is that your materials and tools need to match your level of skill. So if that person had that level of skill, they probably already have that tool in the first place. So again, if your level of skill is a bottle of acetaminophen and some band-aids and things like that, um, you probably should not be buying the higher medical instrumentation. Uh, work your way up. Start going to class. Start going to training. They offer a lot of those things for free. But then again, some of the really good ones, they do cost money. It's an investment. Okay, we are people. We are bags of flesh and blood, and sometimes that blood seems to spill out every once in a while. And the ability to keep the blood inside and keep the air coming in and out, and the blood going round and round, and all that fun stuff, uh, that's a really good investment. Okay. More than likely, you're not a hermit. You are around other people. And it would be amazing that if you had that level of training, that if somebody around you needed medical assistance, that you could at least help them out and provide them with some until somebody came with a higher level of care. You might have some elderly person fall down the front set of their stairs. You might come across a car accident. There might be a coworker choking in the lunchroom. Um, Maybe you took the grandkids to the playground and a kid fell off the slide or whatever. It would be amazing to be that person that steps up, okay, when everybody else freaks out and they're screaming and they're pulling out phones to video, and people get scared and run off and freeze and do all sorts of stuff. You react. You go right into it. Okay. Everything else just stops. You go right into where the problem is. You start your diagnosis and the whole triage section where you're locating and identifying and putting a set of actions into play. And then maybe the person that didn't have that same skill that you did, they were dialing 911 and a higher level of care is en route. But that person that needs medical attention is not just laying there suffering by themselves. They have somebody there trying an attempt to do something with skill, okay? Not just somebody, running up there screaming and right back to them. Uh, but somebody that's doing something, that's making the situation even just slightly better. Okay, it's still something. But real small caveat: if you don't know what you are doing, please don't attempt to do things. You can make things exponentially worse. Um, to move somebody that shouldn't be moved, there's a lot of different things that you can do. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Go get the training first. It's vital. But to go back, so we talked about the bullet wound. You can probably throw stab wound in there as well. Then we talked about medication. We talked about illness. We talked about kind of that wild card and the infections and the slip, strips, and falls and all that. But that also goes into your other things of your sensory stuff. We're going to close out with this one. So we have your basic doctors and things like that. But when we're talking about your sensory, you got ears, you got eyes, and you've got a mouth. And we go to specialists for these, right? So to have somebody that has uh, knowledge on kind of the sensory things would be a really good idea, and to have the proper protection for this. If you don't already have it, I would get some sort of ear protection, whether that is full cover ear protection or in the ear protection. Probably over would be a lot better. It's more cleaner, if you will. Plus, they're bigger and they don't require the same care and different things like that. Most of the time, the things that go in your ear are disposable. It's a one-time use thing for the most part. Um, but having some sort of ear protection, your eyes, okay, you get that one speck in your eye and it can ruin your whole day. You're sitting there doing this all the time. It starts becoming sore, red, all sorts of different things. You depend on your eyes. Okay, you have not gone 24 hours completely blindfolded trying to feel around and do the different things like that. So take care of your eyes. Have eye protection. Safety glasses are extremely cheap, and it could really save your eyes. And you got to remember, SHTF situation, you can't get some sort of an eye injury or eye irritant and just run down and go see that specialist. So the next is going to be your airways, and to have some sort of N95 or some sort of cloth mask or something like that uh, to protect the airways. Because again, SHGF situation, you're not going to be able to run down and have somebody check that out and diagnose it and that higher level of care. You're going to do that. You're going to have to be able to do it basically by yourself and on your own and whoever's around you. And so if you provide that layer of protection, you're taking the risk, you're mitigating the risk. Is it guaranteed? No. Um, Things can go through your safety glass, things can go through a mask and things like that. Uh, but you are lowering the risk of it. Okay, and sometimes that's the best you can do. As well as what's under the mask is your dental. You pretty much need teeth to survive. You could do some sort of dental repair and some other things. I would suggest to kind of, excuse me, to kind of look into that. There is some dental kits and some things. Again, make sure that if you are buying these things that you know how they use it. Don't just sit there and buy something off eBay and go, well, I have a dental kit, I'm good. If you don't know how to use it, it's probably not going to be much help. But to take and get a cheap mouth guard would be a decent idea. Again, just throw it in, have a little PPE bag or something like that. I think that's often overlooked by a lot of people is they don't carry around the PPE. They have a whole bunch of things that go boom and bang and sharp and all sorts of other things, but they don't carry around the PPE necessary with it. Do you have to have it? No, but your risk of getting injured is higher. So yes, if you could, and that right there, I know Christmas is right around the corner, uh, but building somebody a PPE bag, you could probably put just about everything in there for somewhere between 10 and 20 bucks for a halfway decent little PPE bag. So, just an idea, but maybe check it out for yourself. Maybe that's a Christmas gift for yourself. Things like gloves, ear protection, eye protection, mouth protection, airway protection, things like that. The things that we need to keep our sensory things going, right? So, but in the sense of trying to keep this as short as possible, I know that these videos are going to be extremely long. I apologize, but it is a huge amount of information that I think needs to be shared. So, but we're going to end it on that one. So, I hope you got something out of this. You guys really seem to enjoy the last one. Hopefully, you'll have the same response on this one. So, I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you have a blessed day. Stay tuned because there's more information to come. And with that, remain united because we're all prepping in this together.